I get to this stage? Time, practice, and most importantly, you need to stop trying. The next 5 years were the most frustrating of Yamato's life. The master no longer taught him anything new. He just made Yamato fight, every day, against different opponents, different styles, different levels. At first, Yamato was still thinking about techniques. Now I use the first master's block. Now I combine it with the second master's counterattack. His mind was constantly categorizing, deciding, choosing. But slowly over the years, something began to dissolve. The labels on techniques began to disappear. He stopped thinking, now I do technique X, and started just doing it. One day, during a particularly intense fight against 3 opponents simultaneously, something broke, or rather something opened. Yamato didn't remember making any decisions during that fight. His body simply flowed. He blocked, attacked, spun, dodged, all without a single conscious thought. It was like watching someone else fight using his body. When he finished, all 3 opponents were on the ground. Yamato was breathing calmly, effortlessly, and he couldn't recall any specific techniques he had used. His master was watching from afar, a rare smile on his face. "You finally stopped fighting," he said. "But I fought 3 people. No, your body responded. There was no you in there making decisions. There was just pure response to the moment. This is Rai. You have transcended the techniques. They are now so deeply a part of you that you don't even know they are there." A Kyoto University researcher, who has been studying embodied cognition for 22 years, explains, when experts reach the highest level of mastery, something fascinating happens in the brain. Activity in the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for conscious decisions, dramatically decreases during performance. Simultaneously, older brain structures take over. The expert is no longer doing the skill. The skill is expressing itself through him. Neurologically, it's as if the person and the skill become one and the same. Chapter 7. The Nameless Master. Years later, Yamato was no longer the village boy with an impossible dream. He had become a respected samurai, but more than that, he had become a master. Young men came from distant villages asking to be his students, and they always asked the same question, "Master, how many techniques do you know?" Yamato always replied, "None and all." This confused the students. They wanted numbers. They wanted lists. They wanted to know exactly what they were going to learn. But Yamato had understood something that can only be understood after completely traversing Shuhari. Techniques are just fingers pointing to the moon. Most people are so obsessed with their fingers that they never look where they're pointing. One day, a particularly arrogant young man challenged him. "Master, with all due respect, you say you don't know any techniques. But my old instructor knows 500 techniques. How can you be better than him?" Yamato picked up a wooden sword. "Attack me with any of these 500 techniques." The young man chose his best move, a complex attack he had practiced for years. Yamato didn't even seem to move much, just a slight adjustment of stance, a slight change of angle, and the young man was on the ground, weaponless, unable to understand how it had happened. "You used a technique against me just now," Yamato explained, helping the young man to his feet. "A specific technique, with a name that you've practiced thousands of times. It's good. It works in most situations. But I didn't use any technique against you. My body simply responded to your movement in the only way that particular moment required. It wasn't technique A, B, or C. It was the perfect response to that unique moment that had never existed before and will never exist again." That's the difference between knowing 500 techniques and having 0 techniques. You're limited to the 500 options you know. I have infinite options because I'm not choosing between memorized techniques. I'm creating the right answer on the fly. Chapter 8. The universal way. Yamato's story isn't just about swords and samurai. It's about anything you want to master in life. Do you want to learn guitar? Shuhari is the way to go. Shu. You copy songs note for note, exactly as they were recorded. You don't improvise. You don't add your own touch. You just imitate until the patterns sink into your fingers without thinking. Ha. You begin to combine elements of different songs, understand music theory, and see the principles behind the techniques. Re. You pick up the guitar, and the music simply flows. You're no longer playing music, you've become music. Do you want to master programming? Shuhari. Shu. You copy code from experienced developers line by line. You follow established patterns without question. You build solid foundations. Ha. You begin to understand the whys behind each pattern, to combine different approaches, to adapt solutions. Ri. You no longer write code consciously. You see a problem, and the solution manifests itself through your fingers. Language disappears. Only pure logic remains. Do you want to build a business? Shuhari. Shu. You study and replicate business models that work. You don't try to reinvent the wheel. You learn from those who have already done it. Ha. You begin to adapt these models to your specific niche, to see universal business principles that transcend industries. Ri. You no longer follow models. You intuitively know what will work, as if your body reads the market the way a master reads an opponent. The path is always the same. Shuhari is not an ancient Japanese philosophy. It is the framework for how deep learning happens in any domain. But there's something no one tells you about Shuhari. Something that's the real reason most people never achieve mastery in anything. Chapter 9. The Trap of the Modern Generation. The burning truth is this. Most people today will never experience true mastery in anything because they refuse to go through Shu. Think about it. How many times have you heard someone say, "I don't like following rules, I prefer to find my own way, I'm more creative when I do it my way"? That sounds good, right? It sounds like independence, like original thinking, like creativity, but it's a lie. It's your ego protecting you from the uncomfortable truth. You don't want to find your own path. You want to avoid the hard work of mastering someone else's first. Yamato could have said the same thing. "Master, why do I need to copy you exactly? Why can't I develop my own style from scratch? I'm a unique individual." And if he had done that, he wouldn't have become a samurai. He would have been just another villager who thought he was too special to learn the right way. The modern generation has been convinced of a toxic lie, that you should skip fundamentals and go straight to self-expression. That following a master is for the uncreative, that copying is for the weak. And the result? An entire generation of people who know a little about everything and nothing about anything. People who start 47 hobbies and master none of them. People who say, "I tried to learn guitar, but it wasn't for me," when in reality, they simply didn't have the patience to go through the Shu stage. Let me be brutally honest with you. No frills, no storytelling, just the pure truth. The reason you haven't yet mastered that skill you say you want to master isn't a lack of talent. It's not a lack of time. It's not a lack of resources. It's because you're trying to get started in Ha or Ri without doing Shu. You want the results of mastery without paying the price of obsessive repetition. You want to play like a virtuoso, but you don't want to spend 6 months playing scales. You want to program like a pro, but you don't want to spend a year copying code from better programmers. You want to build an 8-figure business, but you don't want to spend 2 years studying business models that have already worked. You want to skip Shu because it's boring, because it's humiliating to admit you know nothing and have to copy someone else exactly. Because our generation has sold us the lie that we are special and unique and don't need to follow the path every master before us has followed. And as long as we continue to believe this lie, we will continue to be mediocre in everything we touch. The truth that burns. There is no shortcut. Never has been, never will be. Zen monks knew this 800 years ago. Samurai knew this 400 years ago. Every true master in any domain knows this. There is only one path, Shuhari. So here's what you need to do. Not tomorrow, not on Monday, now. First, choose one skill, not 3, not 5. 1. The skill that, if you mastered it in the next 3 years, would completely change your life. Second, find someone who has already mastered this skill. They don't have to be the best in the world. They need to be 10 times better than you. Find that person. If you don't know anyone who can help you personally, look for an expert online, but choose just one to follow their teachings. Third, enter the Shu stage with complete humility. You will copy this person with obsessive precision. No adaptations, no my way, no creativity, just perfect imitation. Will it be boring? Yes. Will it feel like you've lost your identity? Yes. Will other people judge you and say you're being robotic? Yes. Great. That means you're doing it right. Fourth, once Shu is complete, and you'll know when it's complete because the techniques will flow without thought, then you enter Ha. Study other approaches, combine techniques, adapt, create variations, question the whys. Fifth, continue for years, not months, years. This isn't a 6-month phase. It's a developmental stage that can last much longer. Keep practicing, experimenting, integrating. Sixth, one day without realizing it, you'll be in Rai. You'll execute your skill without thinking. You'll create solutions you've never seen before. You'll transcend techniques. And on that day, you'll understand that the journey never ends. You'll return to the basics, but with completely new eyes. An Oxford University researcher who has been studying expertise development for 25 years conducted a study of 500 masters in different domains: music, sports, programming, martial arts, business. The finding was unanimous. Every world-class expert we studied followed the same 3-stage pattern. First, a phase of rigorous imitation lasting between 1 to 3 years. Second, a phase of experimentation and combination lasting between 3 to 7 years. Third, a phase of intuition and innovation that marks true mastery. We found not a single exception. No master skipped the first stage, even those called natural prodigies. The difference was only the speed with which they traversed each stage, never the sequence. Chapter 10. Yamato's Legacy. Yamato lived to be 87. He trained hundreds of students during his lifetime, and on his last day, when he was surrounded by his most advanced students, one of them asked, "Master, what was your greatest regret on your journey?" Yamato thought for a long moment. Then he said, "My only regret is not starting Shu sooner. I wasted an entire year trying to teach myself, thinking I was smart enough to find a better way. If I had started with a master from day one, I would have mastered the sword a year sooner. And an extra year of mastery is a treasure no amount of gold can buy. To all of you," he continued, looking each student in the eye, "don't make my mistake. If you want to master something, find someone who has already mastered it and copy that person without shame, without ego, without rushing to add your own personal touch. Mastery isn't about being original from day one. It's about becoming so deeply skilled that originality becomes inevitable." These were his last words about the path, and 3 days later he died peacefully, knowing he had passed on the most important teaching he had ever received. The path doesn't end, it just transforms. And here's something very few people realize. You think Shuhari is about learning skills, but it's not. Shuhari is about who you become in the process of learning. The person you are today, impatient, jumping from one thing to another, wanting results without process, that person will never experience true mastery. But there's another version of you, a version that has the patience to copy perfectly, that has the humility to admit it knows nothing, that has the discipline to practice the same thing 1,000 times, that has the wisdom to understand that the long road is the fast road. This version of you already exists, waiting for you to stop looking for shortcuts, waiting for you to accept the only path that works. Shuhari isn't just an ancient Japanese learning method, it's a mirror, and what you see when you look into that mirror tells you everything about who you'll be in 5 years. Do you see someone willing to start as a complete beginner, without ego, without rushing? Or do you see someone still looking for the hack, the shortcut, the way to avoid the work? Because only one of these people will truly master something, and you know which one it is. The question is not, does the Shuhari system work? The question is, are you willing to pay the price that mastery demands? Yamato was just a village boy. No special talent, no noble lineage, no advantages. The only thing he had was a willingness to obey completely before questioning, to imitate perfectly before innovating, to master the basics before seeking the advanced. And this transformed him from a nobody into a master whose name was remembered for centuries. You have the same choice he had. The same path is open to you. Do you want to spend the next 5 years trying to find a better way that doesn't exist, and 5 years from now be exactly where you are today, knowing a little about a lot of things and nothing about anything? Or would you rather pay the price of mastery and become extraordinary at whatever you set out to do? Mastery is waiting, but it won't find you. You have to walk to it step by step, repetition by repetition. Shu, then Ha, then Rai. The path is ancient, the path is tested, the path works. If this video brought you new teachings about learning and mastery, I invite you again to subscribe to the